talking about? How are we doing?
Well, now that we have everything set up, we don't have anything to say. So
We talked a lot today, so we pretty much got it all out of our system.
we should have a new rule.
Don't talk until it's time.
Mime until
Showtime.
it's showtime. Mime until showtime.
Because, yeah, we talked for an hour and 15 minutes on the car ride, and we pretty much covered everything.
Some of the best talk we've had, too.
And we're authentic. We don't want to rehash the same shit. Even though no one heard it but you and me, we can't be covering the same ground.
I know, because I get excited when I tell it the first time, and now it's like, I've already told you, who cares anymore? Like,
yeah.
I like your new red mic holder. I think that's a good one.
I like that we are here together on the boat. I'm sad that Scotty's not here. Shout out to Scotty. He says we didn't give him enough assurance that we were going to be here, but we are here. We said we'd be, and we are.
And what's funny about that is he always gives me a hard time about being flaky, and he said, Daniel, you just need to get across the Flake Bridge, the Bridge of Flake, to become a real person again, and stuff like that. He really went extra hard on me, and so I very smilingly wrote him a message, asked him if he needed himself some extra help crossing the Bridge of Flake.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt good. Did he send some was he send some pissed off shit back? Like, was he had to hit him a little bit?
Ever so slightly, yeah. He wasn't crazy. He wasn't crazy about you calling him Flaky Bridge Man.
Yeah, I mean, I've in his defense, I've made more flaky problems than he has. This is a boring story, but like, I would say you might be able to break this fraction down, but I'm gonna go with 4/20ths of the times. You want to break the fraction down?
That's your fault. 4/20ths would be 2/10 would be 1/5. How'd I do?
It sounds right.
You're a school teacher. You tell me.
I'm not teaching fractions anymore.
We had a lot of fun talking about your school today.
I'm teaching shapes now. By the way, that's what your kids are getting on if they go to a public school in Delaware. The high school kids are now coloring shapes. Like, it's not. Guys, this is my 10th year teaching. 9th year, if you fuckers look me up. But I like to go 10. It sounds better.
You're pretty much there. Anyway.
I've seen some of what they called highly performing schools, and I've seen schools that everybody knows, they're 1-star schools, great schools, give them 0.5% type schools, and they're all just absolutely awful. I can't even say some are better than others.
You know what we should do? This is organized. Let's do an update on what's been going on with Radicalized, with the InfoWars appearance and the skits, and what we're up to with that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yes, we had our new skits on InfoWars. They're so great. They take my calls and texts, and they love to support us, and we support them. And last time I talked about how I was so drunk while we were on this boat, and Patrick Halley called me to work with him, and I thought I sabotaged it. We're still in contact. We'll still be working with Patrick Halley, who will have his own channel on Band.video, which is InfoWars. Unbannable website. They have their own servers and all that shit. And we'll be on there.
Explain that better to people who don't. Why doesn't InfoWars just use the InfoWars URL?
They still use that, but Band.video, for some reason, is their go-to for that, for just like video content, I guess. InfoWars is kind of everything, all the articles, all that.
Well, explain again why
why he was banned?
Yeah, why does he have to have a backup website, please?
Because he was banned. He was the first one they went after in a big way, Alex Jones. He's a fucking hero, and he's a great man. But he's the first one they went after. And everyone said it's not going to stop at Alex Jones. Next thing you know, they were banning the president of the United States from social media. And now they're banning whoever they can. I mean, we're always one moment away from being banned on YouTube. I have to go back and listen to these long, horrible conversations we have. And I have to cut out little bits because you can't say certain things on YouTube. Things that you should be able to say. Nothing crazy.
Give us an example of like something we've been cut from YouTube by.
You can't talk about the election. And you can't talk about vaccine side effects.
I mean, that... I don't have words for it, and I've repeatedly have said that on previous podcasts. Tyranny is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and I don't want liberals saying, oh, of course, it's tyranny again. They roll their eyes when they hear that word, kind of. A light is hitting you like Christ has entered the room.
The sun is right there through that
Fucking
little
you
tiny...
look great. Okay.
It feels nice on the skin, too.
It's
cold, windy.
Can't say tyranny because that's used by the alt-right, and people are tuning out. What I can use, and that was God kissing us and leaving. What I can use is the word, if you can't, does it feel like you're living in America when you can't in a public forum discuss the results of an election.
The things that everyone's discussing. You can't even leave the house without overhearing people talking about these things. I was on an airplane the other day.
I feel like I'm in China, bro.
Yeah,
we can't say like, I don't know about that election.
Well, you think about we're talking about YouTube would be. I think YouTube is the worst out of all of them with censorship.
Does that mean Google too?
Google doesn't even seem to be as bad. YouTube very specifically goes after people like us. We even have a small following on YouTube, and they still take the time, because I appeal every time they go after it. I say, what about that wasn't factual? And if we can't even talk opinions, what if I have an opinion on something? We can't talk about that. That's where it gets really fucking crazy. You should be able to have any opinion you want.
Yeah.
They say, oh, these opinions are dangerous. What? How? How's it dangerous? If it's wrong, then people can look into it. Who's listening to us like we're the gospel anyway?
You could have people who have taken shrooms and ayahuasca and stuff like that. Their reality may be that humankind was all born on Mars. Bro, he needs to be able to say that. We all might think he's crazy, and that's cool, but we don't shut the public square down because he had a trip that, like, and he believes that humankind.
That's why it really makes you wonder, why is it just vaccine side effects in the election that you're really not allowed to talk about? That's the two big ones.
Can I ask you a question and see if this delves a little deeper into it? Like, maybe we can find the real answers. Because everybody's talking about that on its surface, I hope, because of the pure insanity. Let me ask you this. What great benefit, it has to be great, is Google receiving for being another arm of the government, essentially, for working with the Democratic politicians? Are they earning money from them? Is it favors in Congress? Are they getting tax breaks? There's got to be something huge.
I think mostly it's that the people high up in them are just directly tied into stock with these like companies like Moderna. You know, it's all about the money, and the money is so connected with these few people, which kind of reminds me. Side note: I saw a video today of the one of the head of the Meta bullshit with Facebook was caught in a child sex sting from amateurs. They lured him to a hotel room. He thought he was meeting up with a 13-year-old boy, and he's sitting there. He's like, "This is the first time I've ever done this," and the woman was awesome. She's like, you know, fuck you, you're an evil person. This is not the first time you've done this.
Was it like a Chris Hansen style moment? They filmed it and stuff?
Yeah,
no
they
way.
Filmed it, yeah.
Can we show it?
I'll bring it. You could bring it up while I'm chatting about it. It'd be cool. Maybe you could bring things up and turn it, and then we can kind of watch them together, and then I'll overlay it. And
that would be really cool.
Context.
Let's just see if it works. I don't know if the clarity of that camera.
No,
I could zoom up on it.
No, I'll just bring it. I'll overlay it. Fix it in post, man.
So what?
So yeah, a guy, he's high up for Facebook, he's high up for the Meta.
Guess what Apple did? I mean, we can come right back to that. But like, so this was, as everything is for Apple, like $300 case because it includes this. It has like, it's a protector, but it also has a keyboard built in. And I bought this from the Apple store, and it's been about 3.5-4 years, and now they're saying we don't recognize that as one of our products. So you're fucked. You can't use it anymore. So now it's basically a stand.
You gotta love that.
Well, it's just Apple shutting everyone down.
Did it come with the Alex Jones quote on the back here? Life is fiery with its beauty?
No, but I'd like to show the camera that. I do a lot of Alex because he's one of my heroes.
He's the best, man.
He's a lunatic hero.
He's not.
I know you say that he's not. I think that's there's a persona there, obviously, where the more wild he is, the more you want to tune into him. We're still getting back to that, by the way. But I love him because he's a man where clearly he has flaws. Like, he is a man. So. It's not like, you know, I was going to say Don Lemon or like Anderson Cooper. Beautiful man.
Handsome enough.
I like Anderson.
Sexy?
I think he's good looking. I like his light eyes. I can tell he smells good by just watching him.
Isn't he like a CIA plant, though?
Yeah. Like, if you look into him, like, he's just littered with a background that is questionable. You know, with his parents being Vanderbilts, I believe. Mm. And it's okay to come from a rich family, but I think...
Says the Rothschilds.
Says Porcy. My nickname is Porcy Rothschild.
Porcelain is short for porcelain.
But wait, we're getting a little carried away. Why are we talking about Anderson? Oh, just kind of comparing like like Anderson to me is not human. Like, just because he's like so eloquent.
He could be a robot for real.
And I'm gonna bring people from the left and let you know. Like, I'll tell you when people are. One of my favorite things on CNN, and I know I'm blabbering a little bit, is everybody on the right will like destroy Don Lemon and be like, this guy's, purveying misinformation and he's the scum of the earth. And I really don't see him that way. I think he's bought in to the ideology. He thinks he's helping. And I saw like a rightist, is that a word? I saw like a right extremist, I hate saying that, rant on Twitter about like, it's so unprofessional for, I was going to say Cory Booker. You might want to cut that out. Don Lemon partying on...
Why cut it out? Because they're both black?
Right.
You don't know. Racism is allowed and encouraged on YouTube.
They do the same. My wife's Latino, and she's like, "Oh my God!" Like,
she thinks we all look the
same. All the white people look the same. She gets them confused. Chinese people.
But she liked Mel Gibson. She made a note of that, which is very cool.
She's a pretty middle of the road chick. She said that was her favorite. One of her favorite movies. Braveheart was one of her favorite movies of all time.
And then, well, should be, as it should be.
She likes like.
And now you guys can actually talk about it.
It's when
you finally saw it.
I have seen the highlights of like actually watching pop culture movies and films and stuff, because like I had a connection with you today that I've never had when I'd watched a movie.
I couldn't believe
it. We both knew it.
I couldn't believe it. So yeah, good for you. Good on you for getting out there.
Before you go into your thing, and we pull up this Chris Hansen thing, because I'm all about it.
It's not Chris Hansen. He's just some Facebook high up. It's just interesting. This is what's curious about it. And even that people can look it up themselves.
Okay.
Why are all these people into like little kids? Why does this keep happening?
Hold that subject. Let me finish with Don. Hold that subject.
Don's probably
so
into
like
it too.
Don does an episode.
That's my opinion.
This extremist. You think he's into kids too?
Who knows?
That organization did have this year more than other years.
Multiple producers fired for underage sex
scandal
and not
stuff.
like just normal, like not like some 17-year-old hot girl, who they were like, oh, it was too tempting. It's always like 12-year-olds that are like grooming and like selling them into sex operations.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. They find
and this is how we're not left or right wing on that subject. We think that sex trafficking is wrong. Period.
Yeah.
That's our stance here at Radicalized. We think sex trafficking is wrong.
Now,
and that's controversial.
Let me ask you this: Red Light District, Amsterdam.
I think it's great.
That's great. Does that bother you at all? That women will sell their bodies?
It does. The only thing is, I do think they sometimes are kind of still
trafficked a little bit, right?
Yeah, they're still trafficked.
Yeah.
I think it should be like regulated in an interesting way. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah.
Prostitution be. It's a tough one. It's a really tricky one.
Yeah.
Because a woman should be able to do it if she wants to do it. But what's leading her to want to do it is someone putting her in a position where she feels like she has to. Who knows?
Yeah,
it's a tricky one. When
I was in Rome last year, I love going to Rome. I love the town. I was pulled into a place that it was what do they do in Paris where they have like burlesque? Okay, so they had a burlesque thing, and I was like, oh, that sounds fun. The food looks delicious. The beers look cheap. Like I'm gonna go to this. I had nothing else to do. I was in Rome.
Moulin Rouge type shit.
But they were set. I really just went there to text. Play around with my, stock, looking at looking at crypto ideas. And, I like to just jerk off on my phone sometimes. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Whatever you're into, it could be a Wikipedia, what do they call them? Loopholes or wormhole, I just like that. Some of my favorite times are being by myself. And they sent over clearly trafficked Russians and like really deadly beautiful. But it was like
there's a sadness in the eyes, though.
There's a sadness in the eyes, and there was no humanity to him. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought this was a burlesque show, and there's like this fat Italian dude, and they're also like Russian, and the people running the show weren't, my fratellos. They weren't mi fratellos. They were obviously from out of town.
Can you translate that?
They were my brothers. And so the long story short is they started sending like I really just thought it was cool to watch the burlesque, the amateur porn, while having a steak. That's an awesome night in Rome. But no, there were some trafficked people involved. Deadly beautiful, and the humanity wasn't there, and that's how I knew that they were being more trafficked, because I said, "What's up? Like, where are you from?" Like and I had to explain I'm not interested because I'm not here for that. I actually have believe it or not, a girl that I'm dating in the States. Turned out to be my wife, but do you hear that sound?
Yeah, it's a drone spying on us. I have to say, in all my experience with prostitutes, I think all of them were pretty messed up. emotionally and mentally. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sorry. That's just an unusual one. I think that's a water pump or something. It's all good. This
God
boat
only
has
knows.
existed for 30 years.
But yeah, they don't seem to be typical. They're not like entrepreneur type people, and they don't seem to have it all going on
No.
mentally. And so that, in that sense, it is sad. But yeah, all I guess I can say about that morally is it's a tricky one. It's up to individuals, and I don't know. We can't make a judgment on that.
No judgment. It's just, I know you get a feeling when you're around these women who are being manipulated and being housed, and they're kind of tenant workers. And I didn't like that.
Often Russians are involved, aren't they?
All the time.
Even down in Myrtle Beach, they say all the strippers were they're like kind of Russian sex trafficking. One thing that you'll learn for the young boy listeners, which I think there's probably 40,000 young boys that listen to us.
Yeah.
All strippers are essentially prostitutes at the end of the day.
You've always said that.
It's
and
true.
I think it could be true. I think it could be a little true.
In my experience out there and what I've seen, what I've heard, you offer them enough money, they're back on the boat with you. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah, you've said that, and I think, they're sex workers. I mean, they're burlesque dancers that really nowadays take it an extra step. You were the first person I've ever attended a strip club with.
No way.
Yeah, I just thought it was dehumanizing.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had really a different perspective on it. My brother had gone for his
I have that feeling, but
16th.
I'm always so damn drunk when I'm in there that
Yeah.
I'm in a different state of mind. If I went into one sober, I'd probably be like, this is weird. Because I always hear people say, this is weird. I'm always too drunk by the time I go into something like that. I don't have the morality. Is there a ghost back there, too?
Well, I'm hearing things slam and stuff. I think maybe when you were in there, you closed a drawer and it opened.
What could be cool is if we capture an actual haunting during, because we happen to be filming. Anything could happen.
Well, 2 kids died on this boat. Remember the ones from Boston Harbor?
Least.
So there are some infant deaths on here. So some shit could be going down like that. But real quick, and I want to get away from prostitutes. But this is how you find out if they're being trafficked. It's the eyes.
Yeah.
And you start a conversation, and they're like, "What do you mean you just don't want sex?" So for example, I go, "Where are you from? How long have you been in Rome? That's cool. Do you enjoy, you start talking to them like you would a person, and they just glass over because they're hiding behind a shell
of their body.
It's like when I dressed like a woman the other day.
It's hilarious. Keep doing that.
I could act so differently.
Feels nice, huh?
Here I'm like, who am I again?
If you guys haven't seen it, you got to watch our skit of we're gonna keep these characters going, where Danny is the extreme liberal, questioning his sexual identity, questioning his gender, all these things, and I'm just the very, very normal character, very normal, just loves his family, hanging out on the beach, sipping light beer. We're kind of making a mockery of the left versus right, but too often it's very accurate. So you're actually you're going to end up on Libs of TikTok if you keep this character going, which is what we're going to do. Tomorrow we have a bunch of ideas for filming. We're going to make a few more skits. They're pretty good.
The upcoming ones are some of the best ever. And I want to talk a little bit about them. And I also want to talk about if we can get on Libs of TikTok, that means we're on Joe Rogan.
If you infiltrate.
You see how it works?
Yeah.
Joe Rogan loves Libs of TikToks, always watching the Libs, and it's just, I think we could get
Well,
them.
our boy Harrison Smith, who loves us and wants to come on the cast, and I was like, we're not really at a place, we're not big enough yet. He goes, I don't care about that. He goes, I like talking to you guys. You guys are cool. And so I'd like to help. I'll get some followers for you. And I'm like, awesome. He was retweeted by Joe Rogan.
And
he was even mentioned by Joe Rogan because he was the one when he had COVID, he went to the hospital in Austin, and they told him he couldn't get monoclonal antibodies literally because he's white. And he got it all on camera. They didn't know he was filming them, and they were like, which it sort of makes sense because black, the darker skin, the more susceptible you are to bad side effects from lack of vitamin D. So they would be first in line to get it, but it's not like we're running out of monoclonal antibodies.
It's not only that, but also they tend to be the obese. They tend to eat poorly. I
feel like I've seen a lot of fat. I feel like I've seen more fat white people.
You think that, but actually nutritionally throughout history, they've had a liberal might say they didn't have food access, and they were in food scarce neighborhoods and things of that. So white people are fat as shit. Don't get me wrong. But historically, blacks or the unhealthy have become unhealthy because they didn't have access. In their neighborhood, they can this might need to be cut, but Dollar General, for example, might be their supermarket, whereas our neighborhood markets, we have fresh produce. And so I think maybe historically, I think it's changing as the middle class grows and black people are accepted in communities as they should be, because they're some of the best people. They're some of the best people. I'm sorry.
But see, I feel like they had been accepted for a long, long time. I feel like I saw a great argument the other day that, you know, you say, like, I'm not racist, I have black friends. And they're like, that doesn't mean you're not racist. Actually, it fucking does. And I saw a great argument from someone who's a much better speaker than me, explaining how that actually does mean that you're not a racist. That's actually exactly what it means. It means that you value people on individual character traits.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of black friends. You have tons of black friends. You're up north, you know, and
yeah.
you work in, like,
a black school.
Yeah.
I'm the minority in my school. Yeah.
And it actually does mean a hell of a lot. It means that you judge people individually, which is what we're trying to get the world to.
I attended a historically black university. Temple University is Bill Cosby, it's a historically black university. They don't use that title, but it is. I've always surrounded myself with black people. They're the funniest, and I don't think one group of people have had more influence on our culture than
music?
Black people.
Holy shit,
And
how about the music?
They've did everything for music.
They've made, even the Beatles, the Beatles were just kind of copying black music
they're
and
black
making it
grooves.
kind of a little bit white boyish.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, the music is just one part of culture that they've influenced. What about this hat that I'm wearing?
Yeah.
That's absolutely an African American. Now, I didn't leave the sticker on it. Oftentimes people, they like to leave the sticker on it. So I've kind of made it my own thing, but I think their styles have been cool. You never saw me in like super baggy jeans and like my ass hanging out.
I used to wear Jinkos.
Some cultural things that African Americans brought about, I kind of skipped. Like the MC Hammer. Well, our audience is too young for that, but like that.
You
kind
would
of
just
stuff,
missed that though. You would have been right there in those fucking parachute.
You think
pants.
I would have been in the parachute pants?
If you were born in 1977,
I did like the high top
parachute
Reeboks.
boy.
I did like the high top Reeboks.
And you would look good in that.
But anyway, when people ask me about, I have a kid who doesn't like being black. It's like I've not seen one of these kids who was out about it.
No way.
And he goes, Mr. Mitchell, he used the word the N-word. He was like, I don't like they represent the worst. I mean, he's really down, really depressed. I love him. He's a really good student. But I was like, brother, because right, it's Black History Month, right? So one of our projects I switched up, of course. So it's a personal. Everybody wants Rosa, and I love Rosa. And everybody wants the even better Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass is the shit, man. I mean, this is a guy who learned law and was able to. Frederick Douglass was amazing, with limited education. You know, I don't know I'm not a historian for African Americans, but I mean, these guys seem pretty cool. Harriet Tubman risked her life and brought some historians say up to 1,000. I know 600 is more common, but. Some people are saying up to 1,000 freed slaves from Harriet Tubman. She risked her life going right through this area, Baltimore.
So wait, you had a student who mainstream media had convinced through their propaganda that he was less than a white person? He said he was not happy being black because... And that's only a result of fucking nonsense propaganda pushed on people. To me, that's what I get from their CRT and all that. It's like you're teaching kids that they're less than. You're teaching people who haven't even made up their minds about anything, and they love everyone. You're born perfect, you know? And then TV will fuck you right up.
There's a famous study.
You're going to make a poor kid feel bad for the color of his skin. Who did that? Not white people. The fucking news did that. The news.
There's a study. We have to when we cite studies, I think it's important. I know you're going to say, Mitchell, that gives me more work to do. But if we can always just do a quick screenshot of that study, because every podcast says there's studies. But there's a really famous one where they took first graders, black first graders, and they introduced them to Barbies, black Barbies, Chinese Barbies, and all these dolls. And 80, don't quote me on the statistics, the majority of the time, they said, who's the prettiest? And they would always pick the white one. First grade, they have been manipulated by the mainstream media that white is beauty. And I always thought that was so fucked up and so weird, because I think black sounds bad, but I think black people are so beautiful. The melanin, they've got something going on that's really.
And we're all jealous of the men because that's where the whole cuckolding shit came from.
Yeah, no kidding.
We're like, oh yeah, your wife's out with some black guy tonight. That's always the thing. Because oftentimes they're very suave and they're very muscular.
I learned from going to black schools in the inner city. Shout out to Albert Palmer Elementary on the south side. 99% black, 100% free lunch. You get it. I'm the only white boy there. And I continued that. It's kind of weird that I stuck with my black brothers. But they always had a swag. I got to say, without them, I know you're doing something with the camera right now, but I think you can still listen to.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. I got swag from them. Now, I lost it. So now people are like, Mr. Mitchell, you're such a white boy. At recess,
Gringo, you're called
I was
often
teaching
too.
elementary in the inner city. They called me Tom Brady because I didn't run right. But for like a good, I can even go up to my high school years and said that the black community taught me suave behavior, like how to be fucking cool and chill. I give it to them. I come from a white background, and the stereotype is true. It's an uptight, typically attitude, and a lot of people would say we're borrowing characteristics of the Jews.
Is this our white apologist episode, or is this our episode of getting everything out about race relations? Are we going to get it all out?
So important to me that people know that I've dedicated my life to this community. We're so labeled automatically as white supremacist, right, extreme racist. They like Alex Jones. They must hate black people. It's important to me. This is Black History Month episode. And it's an every month episode. I want people to know that don't categorize us as that, because we are so far from that.
And what sucks about it is when they keep labeling you that, and when you feel like, if you have an InfoWars sticker, oh, you must be a racist, it does kind of radicalize people like us a little farther. We kind of, and a lot of people, I think you kind of push back, and you might pick up even more racist tendencies by constantly being called a racist. Kind of like when you constantly tell a young black kid in school that whites are the enemy. They're going to start kind of believing that 100%.
Shit.
The race thing is completely, at least in America, the fucking freest, most, like Japan, they hate everybody but Japanese. Chinese hate black people. No one talks about that. LeBron doesn't talk about that. They hate black people. America is truly a great melting pot. It really is. Everyone's got a fair shot. We were raised right. It's all the media creating this fucking race bullshit, so we don't look at them.
It's really polarizing how they stack us against each
other.
They
make us feel like damn racist, don't they?
When I meet them in the community, because I work in a black city with black students, and they are never the way they're portrayed. They are never. I'm not fearful that they're going to break into my car. The news has you believe that that's what they're up to, and it's just bullshit, brother. Like, they're so decent.
Well, everyone's just people, right?
People are people. However, stereotypes are still true. So it's important we look at everybody as an individual. But for competitive purposes and being able to really watch your back, if you believe in an evolutionary perspective, to be able to categorize was important for survival. And our minds are so good at putting people in categories. It helps us to survive. It's inherent in everyone. And that's why perhaps if you go to the Holocaust Museum, they have two doors, and the only open door is the one that says, what's the other word for, and maybe this was the 90s, maybe it doesn't exist anymore. Not racist, discriminatory. Something like that. And so you try to go through the one that says you're, unbiased, and they only allow you in the discriminatory door, which I always thought that had a profound impact on me in 6th grade, where I go, wait, we all are discriminatory? And it's a different word, and our 40,000 followers can correct us. But it was like, oh no, we all have bias. We all have racial bias. It's inherent in everyone.
Of course, and all kinds of bias, not just racial bias, right? We judge all the time. We're always making judgments with every person we see. You decide if you're going to cross the street. You decide if you're going to hold your kid closer. We all do that kind of shit all the time. Skin color is one of the smallest factors in those kind of judgments that we all make. But how funny is this? They use racism to have people that have strong voices or opinions to make you self-censor. Like you'll be scared of sharing an article because you don't want to be perceived as racist by your black friends or your Spanish friends when the article has nothing to do with race, but they've painted this beautiful little picture, this narrow little fucking worldview where if you share this, you're racist and you should... I mean, we both self-censor because we're like, I don't want my black friends to think I'm racist because I'm sharing this shit. Even if it has nothing to do with race. We're just aware of, like, There's these underlying connotations completely created by them. Look how they're going after Joe Rogan right now.
By the media?
By the media, yeah.
By society stuff and shit.
And then the media, that's a tricky one. Who is the media? Yeah, go down.
The media is another branch of the government.
Go down a deep, dark rabbit hole of what is the media.
When growing up, like, there was maybe a gap of 5 years when I just kind of started understanding the media and stuff, where, like, I don't know, Walter Cronkite or somebody was on. It was like, this guy's like, this isn't a state-run media. Like, there's real journalism. And the gap was so small, maybe it always was there, Ben. And maybe I just, I turned 13 and said, no, they're giving us their version of the truth. But I swear that the journalist had shifted from the noblest career next to being a doctor, saving lives doctor. They were the noblest. These folks kept people in check. There's so much corruption all over the world. Their job was to call it out. They are not supposed to be agreeable. Now they're laughing about Joe Biden's ice cream flavor. What the heck? Oh, you went with chocolate today.
And then Pelosi being worth like $125 million somehow.
One of the most successful stockbrokers in the history of our country is a congresswoman. Go figure.
I wonder how. Like, does it take a genius to figure out its insider trading and its tips?
I think it was 7 out of 10 senators and congressmen own stock. If you guys didn't know this, your head's under a fucking pillow. In Moderna and Pfizer, they own stock directly, a lot of it.
Did they pump and dump too? Because it's tanking.
Those guys are the ones they've sold it. I'm sure they sold the fuck out of it. But when the mandates were going around, it was very strong. It was making everybody so much money.
And they knew, let's dump on this date and do this.
Yeah, and they talk and they're like, let's all dump here. It's all manipulated. Like, the little guy has no shot. Unless you're, you have a shot. You can ride the wave. But, like, just anyway, it's just so corrupt, and they're exposing themselves.
And you're a racist. Like
Joe
Rogan.
I grew up. That's why I chose to go on to North Broad Street at Cecil B. Moore, because I didn't want to be around black people.
And how about Joe Rogan getting attacked so hard because he said the N-word in those...
So happy that black people came out, some famous black comedians and stuff like that, and stood up for him and said, he is not a racist. One of them even said, he has the permission from me. I'm going to give him the pass to be able to use that word, because in almost every time he said it, he was saying it in the context of telling a story. He was in a fight with, or he was blah, 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 and he said blah, 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 the N-word. He was telling a story. Other people said it. He said one thing that was questionable. I listened to the context of everyone. He was perfectly non-racial about it, but he did make a comment that was a little unthoughtful about the gorillas in Philadelphia. He said he saw the apes.
Well, he said it felt like he was in an episode of Planet of the Apes or in the Planet of the Apes.
That was the only one that sounded a little insensitive and weird. But I know in his heart he doesn't hate black people.
No, he doesn't.
That was the only one where I said, "Fuck."
In the great defense, like probably half his friends are black. He's heavily involved in the UFC world and all that, and the stand-up comedy.
Some of his best friends are like trained in Tijuana. He loves Latinos. By the way, the media calls him a far-right racist. He supports Bernie Sanders. He's a socialist. And the media was trying to compare. They said, oh, he says that he's not far-right. Let's look at his guests. And guess where they had Tulsi Gabbard?
On the right. I saw that. They had Tim Dillon on the right, too. They're so fucking full of shit. And it only works on people who don't have a clue. It only works on people who really have no clue. Because I've been listening to Rogan for years, and sometimes it gets boring depending on who his guest is, because I feel like I know Joe Rogan really well by now. So I don't care to hear him speak much anymore, because I know him. I feel like I know his opinions on everything, basically everything. But some of his guests are really fucking interesting. Point is, he is a good person. He has a good heart. He's an open-minded, really good person. And now he's so fucking powerful. Maybe it's a God thing. Who knows? I hope... the far out there people say, oh, he's a gatekeeper of truth and all that. I'm not feeling that. He's a very powerful source for information, and he's unstoppable, and that's what he's proven. He's unstoppable. What are they going to do? They can't stop him. It's crazy. Like, he's the most powerful media in the world.
They're going to find a way.
They tried. They keep making their move, and he just keeps winning. He's like, I don't even read the comments on Twitter. He's like, I apologize for what I said. I'm sorry. I saw his apology video. It was really nice. You know? I don't think he even had to do it, but he did it. It was nice.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying it. Everyone loves Joe Rogan, and he's going to keep on grinding. Worst case, they would fire him, and he would start his own platform with his own servers and whatever.
Yeah.
And he'd be even more fucking powerful. That's what happened to Alex Jones.
It's like I forget what the paradox is called, but it has to do with that. It has to do with when you call attention to something, it becomes more famous. So the more they try to come after him, I know this is what you're saying in a nutshell, but like the more views he has. So like,
and a lot of people are like, "Oh shit, I really enjoyed this. I didn't know he was like that."
Yeah.
Oh, he's actually quite wonderful, and some of his guests
he
are
had
fascinating.
one of the. I just hated this guy. First of all, I'm not a UFC guy. I don't know if you can tell by my body. I just don't. It's not something I tune into. I did like the classic boxing. I thought that was cool as shit. Riddick Bowe, Mike Tyson, Iron Mike. Some of these guys growing up were heroes. George Foreman. Remember George Foreman, the big guy?
Remember his grill.
That was, to me, I liked. Now, and they had some concussions. In the UFC thing, I just don't get it because they beat people to bloody pulps. And like, I don't want to visit the Roman Coliseum in the modern day. To me, that's what the cage matches are.
Well, that win, holy shit.
I think it's animalistic. Love Rogan. Don't like the cage match. Don't like seeing people knocked out at all.
Me neither.
Would rather a comedy. Would rather a
But his
Lethal
stand-up
Weapon
is great,
show
isn't it?
Never listened to his stand-up.
Oh, you'd be pleasantly surprised.
For real?
He's great. Yeah, it's great. It's on Netflix. Shout out to our boy Joe Rogan. We're going on there. We're going on there in a couple weeks. We're very close to Rogan. I mean, we're just a couple episodes away from having him on as a guest.
Can I just talk real quick about why I think he's famous? And I think you'll agree. Similar to stuff that you've been saying. He comes with an opinion. He does have an opinion, and he'll be happy to let you know that. And he calls your shit. And by the way, I gained so much respect for Dr. Sandra Gupta. Dr. Sandra Gupta.
I thought it was Sanjay.
Sanjay, thank you. Who came from CNN's medical expert, right?
That was a horrible
Rogan
episode.
Knew so much more, and he one of his things was like, "Oh, I'll have to look into that. I didn't know.
How do you not know this shit?"
Right. Well, he has talking points, and he just goes over that. But I have a lot of respect for Sandro because he went on, man, and that's a big deal. But what Rogan does, my father, who's a leftist, loves Rogan because he says he doesn't let people get off easy, and that's what modern day journalism is.
Yeah.
What did you? Oh, you had the. Do you have a popsicle today? Look, the president has a popsicle. Doesn't let people off easy, and even my favorite is changes his mind. The man has a wide open mind.
Of course.
So they had one of my least favorite interviews ever. The only reason I was able to listen to it was because I hated the guy so much. It was this Australian journalist, and Joe was like, "Yo, what's going on in Australia? There's camps you're sending people to." And he was like, "Mate, it's not that bad. You guys have all heard this. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably listen to Rogan."
You'd be surprised. I've had people tell me that they didn't know that. I'm like, oh, well, shit. You never know.
Oh, yeah. Well, Australia was like the definition of, like, they're locking people up in camps. They get 15 minutes a day to go outside. Like, just, you wouldn't even believe it. It's something from, like, a children's book about Nazi Germany. And, like, they're doing it. And so here's this guy defending it. Like, it's a good thing. We're keeping people... He was talking about the Aboriginals. Aborigines? Aboriginals, too, probably. Pretty original guys with the bones through the noses and the...
Very original.
If you talk about Indians, natives, they're probably the most badass. Have you seen the Australian natives? They're the ones with, like...
Pygmies, right?
Is that what they're called?
I think so.
They're, like, the baddest of them all. I think they're also
Mel
invented
Gibson.
the boomerang.
Yeah.
And the...
What's funny about Rogan is being a journalist, which he truly is a journalist. He never wanted to be a journalist. He's an accidental hero and an accidental journalist. Accidental heroes, the truckers. It's like, how are these people that you would never in a million years have thought to save our democracy are actually really the best chance we have at beating this fucking movement?
The truckers are you. The truckers are me. The truckers are
They're
us.
going after him today, too, big time. Today, the police are making arrests. They're trying to do it in Ottawa.
I saw some of your live feed. Maybe we can put some of it up. I'm going to wrap up the Rogan thing so we can move on. Australia, Rogan, and this journalist I hated. Don't remember his name. Sorry if you guys are nitpicky and weird. But just an example of Joe Rogan changing his mind. Joe Rogan was convinced that the jab, and especially the booster, contributed to myocarditis in children. Wasn't aware of the fact that COVID itself causes myocarditis in children. And he goes, what? He's like, Jamie, look that up. I thought it was the jab doing that, not.
But look it up where? Because does it? I mean, it's a goddamn cold.
They use DuckDuckGo usually, Jamie.
Yeah, but where are you finding sources that say it causes COVID causes myocarditis? I hear them keep saying that. It's gonna be really hard to convince me that COVID causes heart conditions.
I agree with you. Well,
we've had COVID.
There can be respiratory stuff that might.
Sure,
affect...
but what's that have to do with the damn heart? An enlargement of the heart. Well, inflammation.
Somehow they're finding it. I agree with you. It's likely probably the jab. What are you telling me? There's a control group going on, a big,
We're the control group.
Yeah, it's like,
and we're not taking any tests or any questions.
We may find out that it was 100% the jab. The point of why I think he's popular is he goes, my God, I didn't know that. Okay, maybe. He goes, I thought it was just the children take. So myocarditis could be a side effect of actually receiving COVID. And he changed his mind, and he goes, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't stick there and try to defend a point.
He's better than me because it's going to take some pretty hard to convince me that fucking COVID. And now, of course, COVID was made in the lab. But, do you get banned for saying that now, or does everyone know that and that's fact? And
just bleep it.
Just can't. It's too much work to bleep all the truth. We'd just be
all day. We'll be bomping.
That's all it'd be.
No, you were talking about the Canadian truckers.
Yeah, well, they're finally. Trudeau can't fucking believe how much he's not backing down, which is so crazy.
He'd be so popular again if he just says, you know what, guy?
No one likes that motherfucker.
He just needs to come clean. He's a handsome guy. He's one of these.
Sure, but he went to the Klaus Schwab school for whatever.
Yeah, for globalism.
That? Yeah. So did Trump's daughter.
He's a big. I keep hearing he's like a Marxist, or he supported. Who was the revolutionary in Cuba?
Castro.
Yeah, like
he's
his
like
dads were friends with Castro or something.
I think he's they say he's the illegitimate son of Castro. That's the rumor.
He was Well, he must have been with a very white woman, Mr. Castro, because this boy comes off as a French light-eyed boy. So that's a hell of a claim. But I've seen my wife is whiter than day, and she's Latino, so anything could happen. But let's have a beer.
Yeah, okay. And
do we have one more beer in there?
Of course. I have a bunch of beers. Right. And how does this end in Canada?
Do you want it to end in the coolest fucking thing? If Trudeau wanted to redeem himself, he could go like this. Guys, I've looked at the data.
I was wrong.
And I'm noticing that you guys aren't crazy about the mandates. This is the 5th or 6th mutation that we're aware of. The science says every mutation weakens the virus's effect on us. Somebody, I think it might have been Dr. Robert Malone, will probably get banned for this, but he was saying also how they become weaker and weaker over time. He said that this was God's vaccine, the latest version. He said because Omicron, which is really the Chi virus, but we skipped that because we didn't want to offend the global leader who gives us money. We live on we have so much Chinese debt. It's over for us, guys. Let's just say this. I'm happy my kid's 10 because he might just miss the collapse of this country. Barely, or he's going to go through shit. I take it back. He's going to have a wild time in life. Let's have a beer. I forget where I was even going with this. Oh, Trudeau.
Yeah,
but
here's
what he needs to say.
He's not going to do that, though. He's doubling down.
He's doubling down like a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
If you just, I think the other provinces, did you see that their leader says we're done with the mandate, guys? Like the other Canadian provinces, they're done with it.
God,
it's fucking over, man. Why are people still?
Yeah, why is he sinking with the ship?
It's gonna pop back up. I mean, it is. I mean, it's just they're giving us a little break. I read some internal document, or maybe it was an online thing. How seriously can you take it? But it was one that's from like the internal papers, and it said the people need a break, so let's give them up into the spring. There's a document that may or may not be real, but explaining to the people who run the world, give them a little break because they're fighting back. And then it went on to say and
they've already gotten so much accomplished. The infrastructure is in place to do this again harder than ever. Like all the little shitty plexiglass everywhere, like separating you from the cashier, all that. That's never going to go away. They're getting you ready for the next one. They are probably going to do something pretty big. they're probably gonna do one that really does start killing people. And they've already got things in place where they know who's gonna be on their side, they know who's not, and they're cracking down on whoever's not. You know, that's very obvious. Even people like us with not much of a reach, they're already coming after us. As long as you sing their praises, you get amplified. As long as you fight them, you get banned. I think in a couple of years they're gonna come back with a real virus, like something actually deadly, not with a 99.9 survival rate, like something that kills like 50% or some shit. I really think they're gonna do it. I really do.
They have to financially kill people. If pensions, if Social Security, if we're going to maintain the level of money and people are living longer, and if they continue to do that, we're going to be bankrupt. We're already bankrupt. We're going to be bankrupt to a level that you don't want to know.
Because your dad's pension?
I'm just using my dad as a railroad worker, who kind of came from nothing, right? He's like the one who made it in his family, essentially, because he really built an empire of real estate, and he's not a swindler. He's not one of these flippers, but he used, a humble salary to build a big business, right? And he's a little to the left politically, and he is saying, what was your question?
I was making a joke that you're using him as the example of how we can't afford pensions and...
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, my God. So he's 60 years old. He's healthier than a horse. He can run. He ran in an incredibly impressive time. I forget what it was. 2 hours.
20. So he's going to live forever. And he's going to receive a nice check monthly for the rest of his life.
He did like a half marathon, like 2 hours, almost an Olympic time. My friend Joe Gallo, who actually can run marathons and stuff, he was like, I can't believe your dad ran that fast. My dad's an athlete. But like he's skinny. He's not like, he's not a Joe Rogan stocky type. He's more of like a runner type guy.
He'd outrun Joe.
He beat the shit out of Joe in a race.
Damn.
And he's 60. Well, his pension is over $5,000 a month. What? And Amtrak is sort of like government entity. It's not private. That's a government job. And these boomers, they call them. I think it's really rude to call them that because there's some really great people there. Our parents. Long story short, he's $5,500 a month for 30 years.
Oh, he's living to 110.
Yeah. So, how are we affording these promises we made people in the 70s?
Yeah. Yeah, that is bizarre.
So that could be one
also
reason.
I'm
always looking for the motives.
They say they're going to kill off. I mean, they want 500 million people on the earth. That's what they say in the Georgia Guidestones. If you're into that sort of thing.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like these, I think they were put up in the 80s. And they're like these giant fucking pillars. And people carved whoever made them. I don't think anyone knows who made them. But it has like the tenets of basically like a globalist ideal for how humanity should be. And one of the things is it says maintain the population of Earth under 500 million. And
some dude in the 80s did this?
I don't think it was some dude. I think it was like some big high up people. It's a hell of a thing. It's like a little Stonehenge.
But the Stonehenge appeared in roughly the 80s. For some reason, that doesn't hold the weight of like a Stonehenge saying that.
No, but Stonehenge might have said the same shit on it. We just couldn't read whatever, and
Does it work like galactically? Does it line up with the stars?
Yeah, it actually does.
No, I bet.
For real.
No,
it has a hole in it that aligns with Polaris, North Star.
Yeah, and do you believe that stuff? Because they always say that they're like at the equinox, summer, and like the
it
ancient
does line
Indians.
up. People look through that hole and they see there's the North Star, never changing.
Yeah.
Even though they're spiraling through the galaxy at millions of miles per hour, chasing the sun through the universe.
Yeah, but at 1:30 every Tuesday broadcast, the sun hits you like Jesus Christ from the boat. You know, are you miraculous?
Explain that. Flat
You
earthers.
see what I'm saying? Like people could just be trying to explain something that's not really that magical.
But there's something to the. I'm going with they're trying. Bill Gates admits they're trying to depopulate.
When did Bill Gates become a problem? To me, he's an Asperger's, not an evil person. Where did the evil Bill Gates come from? I'm being serious.
From his parents.
To me, he's kind of cute. He's like this cute old man who researches
No, fuck no. His
virus
parents
stuff.
were eugenicists as well. They helped fund Planned Parenthood, which is really actually a truly racist goddamn They put it in all the poor black
I'm
and
so
minority
torn
neighborhoods.
with Planned Parenthood, but
It's a bad thing.
We can come back to that later.
It's a bad thing. They're just killing babies.
Let's
and
just
selling
say they're
their
not
parts.
doing it right. There's been a couple whistleblowers.
Well, that's for damn sure. And is it the government's job to pay for you to kill your baby because you were too dumb to use protection or to have sex with someone that you cared about?
So often, the people fucking all the time are people that really can't, in a capitalist system, provide for these babies. We have more people on welfare than we've ever had in the history of the world. I mean,
So is it the government's job to pay for the execution of their child? That's where it's tricky.
Well, you've got to ask yourself this from a more of a business. I want you to take yourself away from the emotional connection to the real baby that's a real baby. The impact, kids that attend my school, for example, many of them won't have jobs because they're not capable. They have mental problems. They've been raped as kids. It's just not going to happen. There's an intellectual deficiency, an intellectual deficiency where they can't wrap the burgers all the time, you know. So they cost society. If it comes down to money, and you're trying to save money, kill the babies of parents who can't afford them, and it sounds horrible.
But who knows who you're killing in there? It could be the next guy who fucking cures cancer. It could be, who knows?
Man, I don't want to kill babies.
These
I don't think
people-
anybody.
I don't know if the government. It's another one of those like prostitution. It's a tricky one, right?
It's so tricky.
But I think it's pretty clear from the people who founded the shit. They didn't like black people. Margaret Sanger, whatever.
That's pretty well known.
They're fucking racists. And they're
It's
happy
pretty
to
well
push
known.
it on African Americans. They're really happy to
they're
sell it to
located
them.
in communities where the blacks are.
Yeah, that's where they're set up.
And where the
why?
Mexicans are and the Latinos. And they're set up next to my school. It's kids who have babies that can't take care of them because the government is already taking care of the person having the baby. And like, you know, one of the best arguments, abortionalist arguments, is how happy is that baby going to be because it already has AIDS. It
does?
Some of them may already have AIDS because of dirty HIV needles. Many of them might have water in their brain. So we're not always talking about the healthiest of babies. Many people who approach that service, government service, killing babies, I can't believe it exists, but are people who are users, you know, and that, you know.
But also a
users
lot of them are
drugs,
just people who have
narcotics.
been manipulated and duped by fucking mainstream media and a fake ass culture too. Where it's like you see these girls on TikTok bragging about, I've had my third abortion, I'm 17. Like bragging about it. That's some pretty demonic shit.
Oh, they're a whole nother level.
But there's so much of that. That's the thing. It's not like how
they're
they,
trying
how
to
they
trigger.
sell it. They sell
They're
it
trying
as
to
like
trigger.
people with children with disabilities, you know, they just decided for their family it was the right thing, or someone who's very impoverished, it was their first time, and it's not usually really that's happening though. It's people that like make bad decisions, and for taxpayer money, they want to kill their babies. It's pretty fucked up.
And then they take the organs and they sell them.
Make a ton of money.
Make a ton of money. The mother who killed the baby gets none of that money. She just gets a free abortion.
Yeah.
Sometimes she has to pay like $100.
Only to
but
go
the
do it
baby
again.
parts that are healthy are worth tens of thousands of dollars. A baby heart, and I don't have a deep understanding of it. I think some of it goes to like these pharmaceutical companies and people who are working on making medicines and things like that. Other baby parts might be transplant organs, you know, baby tissue, and just research in general. Institutions pay for dead babies. At least give the poor mom a cut.
Skin cream for the rich. I hear baby boy foreskin is like really good skin cream for the celebs.
Oh my god.
That's what I think Sandra Bullock, your girl from Speed, I think she said, I think it was her. She said that, yeah, you'll laugh at this. Like, she's probably on Ellen or something. You'll laugh at this, but yeah, the secret to my looking so young is I use a skin cream made by baby foreskin. That's real shit.
I know, when they slip and say that, or like when Trudeau says, I want to be the CCP, I want to be a dictator like him,
Yeah,
a
he
supreme leader. Like when they slip, they're telling the truth. Is that what's called a Freudian slip?
It's so funny to try to get into their minds because I guess they think they're going to be on the right side of history, or they think they're going to be well taken care of in this lifetime. Is that what it is? They think they're going to be rich and they're going to reap the rewards of playing ball with the very powerful people like Klaus Schwab, George Soros. They're going to be rich as fucking powerful.
Trudeau.
But are they going to burn in hell for all eternity?
By Trudeau holding his stance, he's definitely going to get a Henry Kissinger hand job.
Yes. But then also, like, imagine doing that. You are selling your soul. Nobody likes that motherfucker.
No.
Like, nobody who's worth knowing likes
popular.
him.
You know, one of my favorite redeemable qualities is when somebody is wrong and they go, bro, I fucked up.
He'd never
what's
do
more
it.
redeemable than that?
It's a great thing. He'd never do it because this was all part of the damn plan. He went to the Klaus Schwab School for Globalists.
Bro.
Klaus Schwab even probably told him, one day there's going to be an army of truckers that take over your city. You're not going to be able to get supplies to your stores.
It's crazy, brother.
And he's like, yes, master. I will do what I am told.
Yeah, and
because
he
like, we
even
promise
wore
you
the
heaven is
headdress
fortune.
for that during
Yeah.
that ceremony.
You get this crazy fortune if you just follow these rules, and you're gonna be hated. He's like, look, you're gonna be hated by everyone with a conscience,
Yeah.
by everyone with a fucking free thinking, independent. They're all gonna hate you and look at you as a tyrant.
Yeah.
But you're gonna be rich, baby. I wouldn't take the money, would you?
Me?
Yeah.
I just want to be liked.
Same. Same. I'm more
I
interested.
don't need a lot.
I'm way more interested in being well received by people who I respect. I don't care what the shit libs think, but people that I respect, I care what they think, and I think that's a good thing. Hold yourself accountable because you trust people, you respect people, you want them to have that kind of feeling towards you. Someone like Trudeau, good. Like, who are his friends? They're only the other scumbags.
It's the elites.
They're all out there on Epstein Island with these underage kids.
Right.
Prince Andrew.
Right.
They're turning tricks with the 13-year-olds, laughing all the way to the bank. Meanwhile, the entire world is like, you're a disgusting tyrant. May God have mercy on your soul.
Like,
I choose our
for
side.
my dad. I talked to my dad last night. Told you, leftist, self-made man, like the only one who made it out of his family. Actually, his brother died last week. We had the service and stuff like that, and there was a good turnout for it. I didn't expect it because he was one of these guys. You could tell he had addiction problems. You can just tell when you meet people if they have addiction problems. It's like a weird twitch or something that they have. It's like, have you seen videos of Pelosi lately? Like slurring her words. Like, you could just tell she drinks 2 bottles a night of wine. I'll be her. I'll be her someday. We'll both be Pelosi someday. But she has an addiction, and let's also stop stigmatizing it. It usually stems from a childhood trauma, and this is my theoretical, a childhood trauma that sort of turns into like, I need to medication for this, and they find their medication, and people prefer different ones. So really, I should feel poorly about some members of my dad's family. Let's move on and make this happier. My dad freaking made it, but he called me, and he's a lefty boy, and he'll say, Dan, I don't know about this Trump. He goes, I like that he's not a politician, but you can't be acting so belligerently as a leader. He is funny sometimes, I'll give you that, but he was not buying into Trump. He was like, how can you have that size ego and be productive in negotiating and things? So my dad didn't like Trump. And he never wants to talk politics with me because he knows I stand on the more conservative side. But he goes, Dan, I had to do it the other day because his wife is very liberal too. And he goes, I told her, let's go, Brandon. Because he goes, shit's getting so bad.
We saw that on a truck on the way here.
Yeah. He said inflation, and he lives in a commune. My dad lives in a commune in Delaware, in northern Delaware, very famous. And it's literally like a commie. It's a commune. You know what I mean? It's where like people, they don't like pay taxes individually. They pay together.
If you save that thought, can I do a quick rant about the Let's Go Brandon versus the fuck Trump stuff that was going on? If you can say what you're at.
Just the end of the thought's this right here. Ready? My dad's extremely liberal. He's fucking tired of this president. That's it.
Yeah, he is, right?
That's it.
What's so funny about the Let's Go Brandon thing is the people who are saying Let's Go Brandon and who are enjoying that are just the working class, regular ass people. Like regular ass, hardworking family people. We saw it on the back of a truck today, an 18-wheeler hauling some shit that people need,
Yeah.
That's what the kind of place you see this. Like when I drive down 81 on the way home, I pass, it says, fuck Biden. It's humongous. This thing is like 20 feet by 20 feet, this giant flag over this huge company, but it's like a trucking type company, Something extremely essential that morons don't realize how essential it is. Lefties. Then you think back to the fuck Trump thing. That was so pushed. Everything was fuck Trump. But who are the kind of people saying fuck Trump? They all have blue hair. They're all fucking brain dead. They're all confused like these little pathetic people who luckily aren't reproducing. The Let's Go Brandon crowd is everybody. It's everyone. Every gas station I go to, it says I did that beside the price of the gas.
Yeah.
Every damn one I go to. Do you have them up here too?
Yeah, they're here. They but it's crazy. The Mason-Dixon line does exist a little bit, even in reality in today's world, because as soon as I crossed that border to Maryland from Delaware, that's when they're on. I did this is stuck on every fucking gas station. I did this. You cross the Delaware line, you would think they were there sometimes, but you don't see as many.
And I wonder how much of that is
80% of gas pumps in
self-censorship,
Maryland. 80% in Baltimore County, even closer to Baltimore. You see that, I did this.
Virginia, it's everywhere.
As soon as you get to Delaware, what they consider northern Delaware to be kind of, well, it's one of the bluest states in the nation, but they erase them or you don't see them. You don't see them as much. It's crazy how that.
But I think a lot of people are still thinking it. They're just up here. They're a little bit more like afraid to put that out there.
Woke wives think that their idea, they support each other and they're mainstream and they're classy. It's more than a cult now. We were discussing this on the way down, remember? It's like, before it'd be like, okay, why aren't these people listening to logic? Like, this is pretty, like, it's pretty obvious, like, what's going on with COVID now. Why are we still, like, last week my wife got a booster and she got my, like, 9-year-old son a shot and didn't tell me, of course. And she goes, it's just going to be better. I just want safety for us. And I'm like,
so don't you listen to
she
anything
waited
that
like
we
2
say?
weeks to tell me. I already knew it was going to happen. But like in her bougie world, and she lives and works in a very fancy area, her girlfriends are like, yeah, I got boosted. And like, it's become like they're not blue-haired libs.
It's status for them.
But it's a status thing.
But they also weren't the ones holding up fuck
status.
Trump things back in the day, too. You know what I mean? Let's Go Brandon is like everybody's thing. Fuck Trump was the blue-haired people's thing. To publicly put this out,
anything publicly is an extremist thing.
Yeah, but see, it's not. Let's Go Brandon is not extremist.
When she's with her girlfriends, they go, yeah, I got it when it was available. And they're not, and they go, me too. And that's it. And they have wine. They have their house wine. And
well, it's a shame she fell for it. I'm telling you.
But it's just weird how it's become more than just. It's become like it's a status thing now too.
Or maybe the cult is spreading intelligently.
And that CNN and those media companies, they also play a big role in making people like you and me, who say, give it a year, and let's see what happens to this virus. Number one. And by the way, I've had it. I think twice. Definitely once recorded. I did the test. And it's 24 times more the study in Germany or Israel study that I was better off. Natural immunity was better, like 20 times better. So, and my wife had it too. So there's never logic. For her, it was kind of a status. She goes with all of her hotshot girls to their big suburban houses, and she goes, yeah, I got mine. We're safe, girl. And they drink their wine. It's fucking crazy.
Well, we're never getting it still, so.
If the left marketed it in any way that was best, it was that we are Cro-Magnon morons for not taking it, and that they are classy women.
Check out our new commercial for mRNA technology.
Do you want to take a little break?
Yeah, I mean, we have to pretty much go. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, that was a really good one. God, we have so much to talk about, but we didn't even.
We're already 4:30.
Okay, we'll leave. That was Damn,
did we do good enough?
Do you want to hit on something?